Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. Hope you're having a fantastic day. It's Wednesday, so in the second half of the show, we'll have Singing River Health Talk about this really cool academy that they're opening up. And we've had a conversation about it before, but we'll drill down and tell you about some of the key events that are coming up related to that. And in the first half, we're gonna be visiting with Austin Golding from Golding Barge Line. But before I get to Austin, just real quick, I just want to say thank you for the continued feedback. I really, really appreciate when people engage with the show and send me notes, and it's been terrific. And I get the sense, just based on some of the conversations that I'm having, that there's a lot of conversations that have been going on around the columns that I've been writing about about not doing away with anything we do now as it relates to economic development, but laying a new sort of structure on top of that brings our economic development organizations together on the big stuff. I think we've got to get much more aggressive with AI going to have a net job impact going forward, with the fact that 78,000 jobs in coastal Mississippi, direct and indirect, are in gaming and government. There's a clarion call for us to diversify in coastal Mississippi. So we need to get our heads together and go after the big stuff. I've written a series of columns, I think 5 or 6. Certainly, I've got another one that I'm working on now. But you can see them at supertalk.fm. Just go, you'll see news come up as soon as you go there. Toggle at the top to where it says opinion. Then you can go down and see the columns that I've written. So if you've missed any of those, take a look at them. There should be no mystery in anyone's mind, because I'm spelling it out with statistics and what I'm learning about what other regions are doing, why I'm focused on it. I'm focused on it because I care deeply about this community. And I've been a leader in the community for a bunch of years. One of the things we learned at the Katrina is that when we came together with one voice, we could achieve some amazing things. To some extent, we've kind of moved away from that a little bit. People have gotten back in their silos. It's time for us to see the clarion call of change headed our way and diversifying our economy, and work harder to bring more jobs to this region and form a coastal Mississippi Economic Development Alliance. And again, you can read more about it at supertalk.fm. So now let's move over to Austin Golding. He is the CEO of Golding Barge Line. It's a family business. Someone who joins me regularly. It's great to get updates with him about what's going on in the Mississippi River, and really kind of how all the new energy policies are impacting his business, because he's a great barometer because of what he does. And we'll explain that to you if you've not heard us talk before. But before we go any further, let me welcome Austin back to the Ricky Matthews Show. How you doing, Austin?
Doing great, Ricky. Thanks for having me again.
So look, again, I think we should always approach every conversation with the notion that maybe there's some new people listening to the show that haven't listened before. Tell them about your unique business and give them a sense about why you have a good sense of what's happening in the energy sector.
Well, I appreciate the introduction, and I hope I do. But we have a towboat and barge company, so we own the boats and the barges. Our boats push tank barges that carry clean petroleum products, so gas, diesel, jet fuel, any number of different materials that go into making those, such as naphthas, rafformates. We also move a lot of different products that move into plastic production, benzenes, different kinds of chemicals that go into making all kind of products. And then we have 3 tows that actually work for Warren Paving. It's out of Hattiesburg. It recently just got bought by Granite Construction, and a big deal for Mississippi down there. So we have 32 boats, like I said, that push mainly tank barges. And so we work directly for the major oil companies as their Uber. We're taking things generally from their refineries or their tank farms to other refineries or tank farms, or to a distribution point. So our biggest probably mode that rivals us are inland pipelines. We really don't compete with a lot of the coastal ships or offshore vessels. So, but we have a lot more versatility. And we're cheaper to initiate than a pipeline. So an age-old industry, moving a new age product.
Hey, listen, Austin, I missed the news about the purchase that you mentioned. Of course, Warren Paving, people probably know Warren Paving. They've been around for so many years, and they've diversified their business and grown dramatically over the years. A very, business-minded family. Did they sell that subsidiary or their company, or did they sell the whole company?
The whole company. And so I think at this point, because their leadership team is so good, from what I understand, that they're going to stay on and everything should rock on, no pun intended, underneath the Warren name. I've talked to Stephen, and he's excited about the opportunities and the expertise that Granite's going to bring to the organization. And they're a great company, great for Mississippi. I think it's really going to hub a lot of Granite's recent a lot of their recent acquisitions are going to hub off this management team. So Mississippi taking the lead into the next step of that company's future. But yeah, we're aligned with several large companies like that push their products through our boats and barges as part of their supply chain.
I have to invite Stephen on the show to tell the Warren Paving story, because it's an incredible story for sure. It's good news. Good news for Mississippi. I'm excited to learn more about that. So, again, you because of what you do, it was when I was working for the Sun Herald and working in the community, I had an opportunity shortly after becoming president and publisher of the newspaper to go over and spend some time at Chevron. And we went through the entire manufacturing process so we could understand. It's not like they just go make gas. It's a process where at various stages of the process, as you well know, Austin, various byproducts or various products come from it, and also byproducts as well. And to get a good sense of how complex that whole manufacturing process is, that eventually I think maybe at the top of the food chain is jet engine fuel. Maybe you could tell me that. We also spent some time offshore looking at the connection between how the oil gets to the Chevron refinery, and man, what a machine that is! This massive capability that they have, because of these steps of the manufacturing process. That's you're engaged in every step of that process, aren't you?
Well, we are, especially on the clean side. There are barges and vessels that move the raw crude oil, and as you've seen, some of the heavier products that come out still require heat to keep them in that liquid form. We're on the top end where it's all the refined products that do not require any heat, but are still very, very volatile. And usually some of the top are the I don't know if I'd say top of the food chain, but some of the higher end refined products are the ones that they really inject a lot of octane into the product with. And so on their own, they're really too potent, and they help, if you will, liven up maybe some products that don't have quite as much. So it's all, it's always like you said, an intertwined process between source material, end material, and byproducts. And each refinery has its own special kind of crude it uses and its own products that it's really designed to make. Some have heavier crude capacity, some like the light crude. Some make a lot of heavy products, some make a lot of light products. So usually they're buying and trading. We have a lot of this, we don't have a lot of that. They'll find another puzzle piece that fits that, and they'll align themselves with some kind of a trade agreement or some kind of back and forth. So it's a really interesting dynamic between not only the refineries within each one of these oil companies' portfolios, but really where they sit with their competitors. There's a lot of partnership. I know, as we've talked about in your show before, you think drill in America, keep it in America, American energy. Well, I mean, it is here, and the jobs that it takes to create it are here, but that doesn't mean it's getting sold or consumed here. So, it definitely is a great thing to have that under control. We can't have it starved from us, but these oil companies are going to sell it to whoever's going to pay the most for it. We're just lucky that they're making it here.
Well, it's interesting. You and I have talked about this so many times before, but it is a global market. I watched our farmer friends. I know you have friends in the Mississippi Delta, particularly since where you are located. My farmer friends, there's not a single one of them that's got a good story to tell right now. The cost of farming has risen dramatically. The price of the products, soybeans, corn, cotton, rice, have all gone down. And, we're hoping that President Trump's efforts to make non-trade barriers part of the trade agreements will open up some markets for them and maybe push the price up. But when you're competing against South American farmers that don't just work for harvest once a year like they do in the Mississippi Delta, but they do it around the clock, it's a tough situation. Well, oil is kind of the same thing. There's there's so much more to the American energy story than just looking at, America in a vacuum. And it's super complex. And when we get back on the other side, we're getting down to a minute, but when we get back on the other side, Austin, we'll talk a little bit about what you're seeing as a result of some of these changes. But the truth is we can drill, baby, drill, baby, drill, but we don't have enough refinery capacity, do we?
No, and I think that's due to the aging element on these refineries. They're very expensive to maintain and keep going, and so if you have a lot of regulation and a lot of headwind, the investors aren't going to want to invest into something that's got a lot of headwind on it. So I think we haven't encouraged it; we've discouraged it. So no, refinery capacity is shrinking.
We'll see if on the other side, when we get back from break, if you see any indication that some of that might change. When we continue our conversation after this break with Austin Golding, the CEO of Golding Barge Line. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. When you think about energy policy, you think about Chevron, you think about Golding Barge Line, and Austin Golding, who has the opportunity to join me here on a regular basis, and the global nature of it all. Just like we were saying with farming in Mississippi, farmers, they need relief, and the relief is not giving them some kind of subsidy. The relief is getting prices that are manageable, that gives farmers an opportunity to do more than break even or lose. Hopefully some of that's going to change. But hey, we were mentioning before we went to break, and we'll talk sort of a little bit more about the global nature of things. Two things I want you to talk about. Do you sense that there might be some change in upgrading current refinery capacity, or maybe adding some additional capacity? And also, what are you hearing as it relates to energy policy and how it really might begin to spur, sort of the economic development of your industry?
Well, I think from a net standpoint, there is not going to be an increase in refinery capacity. I know that there are some investments going on with some different places, including here in Vicksburg with Ergon's refinery. I think they're about to make a major investment and expand some of their capacity and products they make. But on the whole, when you have refineries come offline that are 100,000+ barrel refineries, it takes a lot to replace. So from a net standpoint, no, I don't think we're having any new capacity come online, despite some other local investments, some other spaces. What I'm hearing from a lot of our refining customers is that, they're embracing a world going forward that has more efficient vehicles, that has battery powered vehicles, that has a world that is looking to not necessarily abandon oil and gas, but embrace a much more efficient world, which I think you and Ricky, you and I have talked about for a long time. I think that the EV makes a lot of sense for people that have a certain circumstance that allows them to charge it on either end and doesn't require a lot of mileage or towage. But for the people that live an uncertain driving life, or have a heavier towing need, or a more rural capacity and less charging capability, oil and gas is a great option. And if we can burn it more efficiently, refine it more efficiently, and not be so binary where it has to be one or the other, I see the oil companies really leaning into that. I've seen them move away from a lot of the renewable space and headline grabbing stuff. I think they're moving with the politics too. You're actually hearing them say the words oil and gas now, and not just energy all the time, which is nice. But even on our side, I advertise our boats that burn less fuel because they're more efficient. It makes more business sense. I'm not doing it to try to create any favor politically. I'm doing it because it makes somebody else more money to burn less fuel. So in our world, it makes a lot of sense, and I'm sensing that from the oil and gas companies, that they don't have as much as anxiety that they're going to be extinguished, but they are having to come up with ways to find new markets, such as a lot of stuff in the Southern Hemisphere, a lot of Europe's energy needs. So a lot of even if the capacity and the consumption is going down locally, it's going up in other parts of the world, and they don't want to have to pay the capital to put these refineries online either. And they probably can't do it as good as us here. And when you have ships and barges that can move it so efficiently around the world, it just has become a much more, I would say, forward-looking industry that has hope, as opposed to a forward-looking industry that feels like they're on a timeline. And I think that's going to encourage investment. I think that's going to be more based in reality than fantasy. And I think it's not going to be a blindfold act where they just think, well, we're just going to burn as much oil and gas as we have forever. I mean, that's not the case either. So I look at them as quietly confident that there's going to be an oil and gas market for the long term. Just
Yeah.
being able to evolve within that's going to be the key.
Austin, you've gotten really good at saying that, but it's not a huge surprise given where we were, because where we were was the Biden administration put these really false deadlines out there that weren't going to be able to be reachable in terms of EV. And the reality is, I don't think anybody, neither one of us have ever suggested otherwise, thinks that there's going to be anything more than, as we go forward, a slow but steady usage of more EV. That capability is going to get better. Batteries are going to get better. And as you pointed out, in certain circumstances, they make a lot of sense. You see Ford just made the big announcement to convert an entire factory to EV. They're not abandoning that. The energy sector, particularly petroleum sector, they are working and have been working for a very long time to create cleaner energy. So when you combine all this together over a continuum of maybe 20 or 30 years, I think we're going to arrive at a good place if we just let the natural market forces slowly but surely take us there. And then when you diversify our economy by opening up global opportunities like what's happening now with some of these trade discussions, they've got to feel better about where all this is headed.
I think they do. I also think that they are becoming a little bit more natural gas focused, as you said, some other products that make good business sense. I've also seen them move away from some of the renewable stuff that didn't make quite as much sense. So I think we're trying on as an energy society and an energy market. We're trying on a lot of products to see, all right, what catches on, what doesn't, and we're moving away from a kind of a shotgun subsidy where anything that's not the traditional power source, we're going to try to just pump it up. I think we're starting to discover what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and that'll also focus, I think, as we go forward as well. These guys really like to fly under the radar, from what I've picked up. I mean, they don't like their oil and gas to be at 90 cents a gallon. They don't like it to be at $5.90 a gallon. They want it to be somewhere in the middle, and they increase their margin by becoming more efficient internally, not by pumping the price up. Now, they'll pump the price up. If you're willing to pay it, they'll go there. But I think over the long haul, they know that makes their alternatives even more competitive with them. So the more efficient they can be, the harder it is to compete with them. And I've seen them have that mentality where we don't want to be the bully, but we don't want to be bullied either. I think they're, on another hand, I mean, these companies are very safety focused now, very environmentally focused now. They really push me and push our competition on not putting this product into the environment, keeping it in the barge, transiting safely, much more than other modes. And I think if Stephen Morin was on the show with us right now, he'd even chuckle a little bit about the type of oversight they lay on us compared to Shell or Exxon. But we're pushing different products, so with different risk profiles. So they're very conscious of how risky some of these products are. So they're environmentally minded and future minded. But I hope that gives you just maybe a 5 or 6 point answer on that question.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And you and I have talked about this before. Some safety, having captains and crews that are, and having equipment that is on top of its game and focused on it, because you've got the environments, of course, the Mississippi Sound and weather scenarios that are here. You've got the Mississippi River and heavy traffic to contend with, and then sometimes the river's too high, sometimes the river's too low. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot for you as the CEO of this company to lose sleep over, isn't there, Austin?
Well, it is, and I think I said on a couple of the shows earlier this year. I can only imagine what it would be like. I think I said this to Dave Hughes. If people pulled up in Jackson and the stack at I-20 and I-55 changed in height and curve shape and lane adjustment. I mean, every time you came through there, it was different, and you didn't know how it was going to look until you got there. I mean, can you imagine the chaos there? So when these boats come through Vicksburg or St. Louis or New Orleans or Baton Rouge, and they have to navigate these bridges and these sharp hairpin bends, and they don't know where the bottom of the river is. Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of skill. And luckily this year, as wet as it's been for everybody, along, especially in the Mississippi Valley, we've had a very healthy river this year, where the last 3 years we've had unbelievably low water. So I've always told people, more water is better for us. We'll safely get as conservative as we need to navigate the high water. The low water, I can be super conservative and still be a problem. So more water, the better for the guy owning the boat company, for sure.
Austin, when I was in New Orleans, president of NOLA Media Group and the publisher of the Times-Picayune, our office was on top of one canal place. So when you look out our window, you know that big curve right there in
Sure.
downtown New Orleans. And it was so interesting when the river was high and it had a lot of current. Some of those barges and some of those ships, what they had to do to get around that curve and how much of the water they took up, it was often very scary. But that's just a world of living on the river, isn't it?
It is, and look, for the tonnage we're moving, it may look like we're moving slow, but it's pretty impressive that in just a few days you can move a mountain worth of rocks or several 100,000 barrels of petroleum around safely. And as long as we have a schedule, they tell us to go as slow as possible. Just get there when you told me you were going to get there, and I'll make sure the system's ready to take the product. But yeah, that
Yeah.
then Algiers Point there in New Orleans is a legendary spot. Legendary spot.
That's it. Algiers Point for sure. I have watched many a ship and many a barge go around that corner. Well, listen, keep up the great work, man. It's good to hear you positive, and hope your family's doing well. Take care, and we'll look forward to talking to you next time.
Thanks, Ricky, and thanks for shining a spotlight on some fun parts of Mississippi. We love telling our story on your show.
You bet, man. I appreciate you. This has been Austin Golding. He's the CEO of Golding Barge Line, just terrific family company up in Vicksburg, and someone I really enjoy touching base with from time to time. Hey, when we come back, Singing River Health Talk. We'll see you after this.